I'm Jerry Howard with E4 Leadership and Business Coaching. Have you ever wondered why you can't get close to your employees or they'll start slacking off? Have you ever wondered why people just won't do their job? Well, at E4 Leadership and Business Coaching, we are change agents. We drive culture shifts by implementing a language of leadership that bridges the gap between carpet people, also known as leadership, and where the rubber meets the road. If you got interest in speaking with us, check out our website at Ephesians4U.com. That's Ephesians, like in the Bible, the number 4, the letter U.com. I look forward to speaking with you. Good morning, Intrepid Impact listeners. We're here at ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1. I'm your host, Jerry Howard, your leadership coach. I own a few businesses. I used to be a hospital executive, and I was a stay-at-home dad. But what's most important to remember is that I am your certified jail inspector. Today with me is Mike King, the partnership guru. Mike on the mic, what is new in your universe?
I'm happy to be hanging with Jerry Howard. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
That's it, my brother. Well, here's what we're going to do today. We are going to shatter the glittering image. Shatter the glittering image, because everybody has a glittering image that they put out there. Everybody has that perfect resume that we want everyone to see. But what's most important when gaining influence, especially in leadership, is to shatter that glittering image and reveal true authenticity. And there's a great way to do that. There's a great way to shatter your own glittering image. There's a great way to help others learn how to shatter their glittering image. And today it's called the Peace Index. The Peace Index. So what that basically is, it's a series of questions that you ask yourself going kind of around your entire universe. And that's why I wanted to know, Mike King, what's new in your universe? Because the 5 areas that we want to focus on is purpose, place, provision, physical health, and people. And these make up our Peace Index. And we're going to break down all of those today. But Mike King, can you talk to us about what's going on in your Peace Index, just in a general spot?
The Peace Index is good. The People Index is very good.
Yeah, I like people.
Have a little bit of an issue with the physical.
Yeah, that's funny that you bring that up, because that's one of the ones that was kind of low for me too. Yes. Recently.
I'm having some physical issues. Fooling around with the grandson, took a tumble.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I was actually at the gym with my oldest daughter not too long ago, and I hadn't been in the gym. So my physical health was a little bit low for quite some time. I had a trampoline injury trying to be 25. I'm not 25. I'm not 35.
The sad part is the brain thought that you could do it. The brain was encouraging you. The brain was encouraging that 25-year-old Jerry.
That's right. And we were at my youngest daughter's 9th birthday. She's about to turn 10. And I can do a back layout.
I've seen you.
Yeah.
You sent the video as proof.
But I can't do 2 in a row.
But what made you think that you wanted to try 2 in a row?
Because my oldest daughter's a gymnast and my youngest daughter's a gymnast, and I was at the trampoline park.
And you thought it was a good idea.
Exactly.
And what happened?
Not. Oh my gosh. So here's the thing. You can do one back layout, but if you're not focused on the one thing, pulling your feet over, then you kind of just stall in the air. Right. So I get up in the air. I'm thinking about the second layout, but I haven't completed the first layout, and I forgot to think about that one. So now here I am, vertical in the air, come straight down, 200 plus pounds on my neck. So you can imagine that physical health was low for a long period of time. In fact, I had to have surgery. I had to have physical therapy, got all that done. And then I'm back in the weight room, my oldest daughter, just a few weeks ago. Trying to do some deadlifts, man.
You hadn't learned.
Oh my gosh.
But the thing is, we don't learn, because I was already not at 100% with the Achilles tendon when I was out there on Sunday.
That's right.
So I'm out there injured already, thinking this is the young Mike. I get the grandkids. I don't want to be the oldest man in history.
That's right. And folks, if I didn't tell you, I'm a former United States Marine. And so we often think that we're still on active duty.
Yes, you do.
And Mike, that's right. You were
especially Marines. I was in the Army, paratrooper. I'd done a lot of a lot of cool things, but I tell people I gave Uncle the best that I had. This is what's left right here. And sometimes you go back to thinking about you could do what your mind says, do it, but the body says no, and you end up in the mid between layout 1 and 2, or you start falling like me, and it takes you 10 minutes.
Let's talk about that. So how long does it take to fall nowadays?
When you're 62, it seemed like it took 10 minutes to hit the ground.
We're falling. I'm telling you what. And when I was hanging vertical in the air, upside down on that trampoline last year, it felt like I was suspended there because impending doom, because when you're floating or when you're about to fall or falling, what's going to happen. So time slows down in your memory. And I think that exacerbates the anxiety.
All right. So it's on the mic with Mike here with Jerry Howard. The name of the program, sir, is
Intrepid Impact, Richmond Radio 106.1. I'm your host, Jerry Howard, and we're talking about the Peace Index. The Peace Index. And Mike and I have really broke down the physical piece. There's physical health. So you want to rate yourself on your physical health. So let's say, Jerry, right now, I'm getting better, man. I'm probably at a 60 right now. I got some pounds I'd love to lose. Again, we're talking about shattering the glittering image. So be honest with yourself when you're rating your physical health. But the other 4 categories all make up the Peace Index. And there's another one right now. I'm going to give you guys the breakdown of my personal Peace Index right now. So my purpose is excellent right now. I'm at a 90-95 Intrepid Impact team. We're building it. We're a group of leadership consultants. I'm here on the mic with Mike. So my people is amazing. I got great family. I got great team members. So I'm giving that a 90 as well. Place is excellent. I love the Richmond community. I love the Mid-Atlantic region. We're working with teams all over this area. And that's all excellent. So I've got people 90. I've got purpose 95. I got place 90. Right. I would love to have a lake house in the mountains. So we're going to keep
work on that
place at the 90. But then we're looking at provision. Now, here's some more shattering, glittering image. Now, as y'all know, Jerry's a business owner. So I own a couple of construction companies. One of them is not doing very well. I'm going to be honest, not doing very well. So my provision, which would be like the income you make, is lower than it used to be. Right. So I would say my provision's probably closer to a 50 or a 60. And the reason why COVID hammered our commercial division of the shade company, right? So provision's a lot lower than normal. But if you're making the kind of income you want to make, and I don't mean like I wish I made more. I mean, like for what you do, are you adequately compensated?
So be realistic.
Exactly.
Jerry Howard is here with us.
ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1 Intrepid Impact Leadership. I'm your host, Jerry Howard, with Mike on the mic. We're talking about the Peace Index. So again, provision is the income you make for what you do, right? So if you be honest, right? So if you spend a lot of time on the couch, your provision might not be that high, but if you're working 2 jobs and your provision is just low from both of them, then that's a thing you really need to work on, right? And then the last one that we talked about at length in the beginning is the physical health piece. So physical health being a 60. So now we've got 90, we've got 95, we've got another 90, we've got a 50, and we've got a 60. So now we average all those together. And if I was abundantly prepared, I would have averaged them already. But what that's going to come out to is around a 72, 75. So if someone said, Jerry, how's your Peace Index? I can say, well, really, honestly, it's probably 70, 72, right? And I say that with a somber tone because, you want to be in the 80s, you want to be in the 90s. And I've got a lot of great 90 things going on right now. But candidly, if I'm having a bad day and somebody asks me that, well, now we can break that down. We can have a real dialogue about what's authentic in somebody's life. Because if you're leading somebody and they're just having a bad day at work, you might want to send them home. You might want to fire them. You might want to take all these actions in the moment, in the emotional moment, that's going to cause you to, you might regret that decision. You might regret it,
Jerry Howard is here. Jerry, which one is the hardest one to affect change of those?
Ooh, that's good. I think, honestly, the one that's most qualitative, it's harder to grasp, is probably the purpose. Because people can search their whole lives without finding true meaning.
That is true.
People can search their whole lives without finding true meaning. So how do you do that? Well, the way I do that, I started with my faith. You know, my jail inspecting career led me to my faith, and I'm a Christian. The Lord Jesus is my foundation of my faith. But at the same time, if you have a foundation in another, say, preferred deity or another faith type of environment, then that's awesome too. And I always encourage people to start there. Because your faith is going to build your value system. And in your value system, that is where your purpose lies.
So the purpose is the hardest one to get under control.
Absolutely, because so many people are just accidentally moving through life. And see, that's what we're really trying to overcome here with the Intrepid Impact Leadership broadcast, is help leaders stop being accidental and being more intentional. The accidental leader sees somebody that's maybe having a bad day and they want to fire them or they want to send them home. But if they just detach from the emotion of the situation and recognize, hey, leader, hey, accidental leader, it's not about you. That person's behavior is actually not about them either. It's about the behavior. So now what we're doing is sitting down, having a discussion, saying, hey, leader so-and-so or sub-leader so-and-so, hey, tell me about your peace index. Now, if you've already taught them this tool, then they can go through that and say, oh, well, purpose is good. And they're all, now what are they doing? They're just saying out loud what's rattling around in their head, rattling around in their heart, and we're having a real dialogue. Well, my purpose is 95. My place is 90. My people is 95. But, you know, honestly, my provision, you know, one of our construction companies, it's just, it's taking up a lot of headspace, right? So now the person that you're mentoring recognizes that you're not against them. You are for them. Why? Because you just gave them a chance to explain. Everybody has a story.
Everybody does have a story. How does Jerry Howard take that from being Jerry Howard personal to put that into a company corporate environment to help affect change?
That's an excellent question, Mike. And what we do is we use pictures and videos. We don't use a lot of books. We don't use a lot of white pages and things like that. And we all know everybody can read. People can read a paragraph. People can read a text message, but a picture's very sticky. And so what we have is we have almost like a 5-star diagram that has each purpose, place, provision, physical health, and people in it. And in the center is the peace index. And so anybody can draw this on a whiteboard. And so that's exactly what we teach. We teach all of these words start with P, makes them very easy to remember. Alliteration for you English majors out there: purpose, place, provision, physical health, and people. And that creates the peace index. So again, you can see how sticky this stuff is. That's really how we implement it, is we implement it at all levels. So we teach the leaders to embrace it. We teach them to start talking about it. But I work with the foreman. I work with the lower level managers. I work with the floor nurses, the certified nurses aides. I conduct workshops for them, and I'll flash one slide on the screen, not PowerPointing people to death, just one slide. And we just sit there and we talk. We talk about purpose. We talk about place. We talk about people. Talk about our physical health, provision. Just like Mike and I, we started this conversation off talking about how our physical health was low recently. And back to the deadlifts, I pulled a hamstring, so I was out for another 2 weeks just trying to get back in the gym. So thankfully, yesterday I did legs, took the weight down a little bit.
Take the ego out.
Take the ego out. Take the 25-year-old out of my heart and head. And sure enough, I didn't pull a muscle. So I can't hardly walk because my legs are sore, but they still work.
There you go. Jerry Howard is here. So Jerry, in the process, when you come in to help an organization, when do you introduce the peace when do you introduce that part?
And that's a great question, Mike, because I'm following the same process that I would use with a company on this particular broadcast. So we're starting with knowing ourselves to lead ourselves, right? That's the first thing we got to do. We got to look at it. What are these tendencies that I have? Then we're jumping into the 70-30 principle and find out, okay, what are those things that energize me? What are those things that drain me? And then the next is exactly this, the peace index. So,
okay, so let's go back. Know yourself to lead yourself. Give a refresher course on that.
Good. Yeah. So when you think about it, and this is another picture as well, but I can describe it to you and it's easy enough to remember because we all have tendencies, right? So the example I did is I love to shatter the glittering image when I give examples. The examples is Jerry has a tendency to drink too much. Well, what happened? Well, I created patterns of behavior that resulted in actions that I did not like. Consequences was getting arrested for drunk in public, getting arrested for assault and battery, getting arrested for driving under the influence. And then, of course, consequences, they lead to a reality of being a certified jail inspector. Did not like that. I didn't like the uniform, Mike.
No, I can imagine.
I didn't like the food either.
Or the hours.
That's right.
Yeah, there's a number of things. There's not really a lot of good things that came out of inspecting jails as a guest of the jail.
Not at all. But you know what? It was more humbling, and it was something that I needed more than I would say most, because I was all over the place before that.
Alrighty. So, Jerry, that is know yourself to lead yourself.
That's right.
Let's talk about 70-30.
So 70-30 principle is basically that we all should exist in what's called a 70-30 ratio with what we do on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. The reason why it's 70-30 and not 100-0 is because if you don't try new things that are going to be hard, they're going to be in your 30%, then you won't necessarily grow as a person. Quite frankly, anybody that says they're 90-10 or 100-0, probably a little narcissistic.
They're dealing with that glitter.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. The glittering image, right? Because if you're not trying to grow, if you're not failing forward, I think there's a book out there called that, but failing forward, if you're not learning a new thing, then you're not enriching the 70% that you're good at. What's a good example? Jerry's great at coaching, leading, speaking, giving great presentations. I do a lot of keynotes, but guess what? If I hadn't done a bunch of 30% stuff, I wouldn't know anything about the mechanics of businesses. You know, I'm not really good at accounting, but I can do a journal entry. Well, I don't like doing journal entries, but I learned how to do it. Why? Because if I don't know the accounting of a business or how to read it, I'm not going to be able to affect any change on the financial side. So your 30% is very important, but you don't want to be at 50-50. You certainly don't want to be at 30-70. And then the 70% is coaching, speaking, exactly what I'm doing right here, connecting with people like Mike King, making sure that people understand that there is a specific process they can follow to improve their lives. And it doesn't take reading a bunch of books. It doesn't take, going to a bunch of seminars. It really just takes a hard look at yourself and recognizing your tendencies, an intrepid look at yourself.
On the mic with Mike, Jerry Howard, Intrepid Impact. We're going to go away and take a break for a moment. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Brown House Candle.
Good morning, Intrepid Impact listeners. We're here at ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1. I'm your host, Jerry Howard, your leadership coach. Like I said, I'm a business owner, stay-at-home dad, but more importantly, certified jail inspector. And I love talking about shattering the glittering image. And today here with me is the partnership guru, Mike on the mic, Mike King. How is it going in your
Jerry?
universe,
I do have a question, issue, a quandary a person may say. You go effortlessly between the glitter and the jail inspector.
You gotta.
It's yeah. Hopefully that goes in one direction, your jail inspector, and then you moved on to the glitter. You don't want to take it in the opposite direction, which is good. I used to be glittering, but now all of a sudden.
That's right. Well, and you make a good point there. One of the things I like to do is help people recognize that the glitter, the temptation for the glitter never goes away. You got to constantly be shattering the glittering image. And that's the reason why I talked about provision for me being low today, because one of our construction companies is not doing well. Well, you would think the leadership and business coach knows how to scale businesses, all this super smart guy, MBA, all that stuff. Well, how could his business be struggling? Well, the fact of the matter is everybody's struggling.
Everybody's struggling.
And we got to shatter that glittering image, bring true authenticity. And to have that conversation with another person really involves just understanding the peace index. And that's what we're talking about today.
So now you're going to drop the peace index on me quickly because we got about 3 minutes to go.
That's right.
All right, hit me with the peace index.
So Mike King, how is your purpose right now? 0 to 100. How are you doing purpose-wise?
About 85.
85. That's great. Place. How you doing in your place? You like where you are?
75.
Good.
One of the things is I kind of miss the college town atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good place mentally for me. I really like that. But yes, 75.
Energy. Yeah, a lot of energy there. And then provision. How do you feel about the money you make doing what you do?
It's 70.
70. That's good. And then physical health. We talked about that one.
Prior to Sunday, it It was okay. It was an 80, 85.
Right. Now how you feel?
About it is hovering around the midfield mark.
Yeah. So 50, because I noticed that you were kind of, when we walked in, but that's authenticity, folks. That's what we're looking for.
And all right, and so
the last one is people, right? How do you
I'm
feel
at
about
100. I'm at 200% with the people. I got rock star people who roll around me, so I know that makes up for the deficits of the other ones. Because if not, I'd be hovering at the Mendoza line. So folks don't know what the Mendoza line is. That's for baseball. That's Are you a baseball guy?
I played. I just don't follow it. I coach it. I don't follow. I coach the little kids.
The Mendoza line is hitting 200, which is horrible. So, so we have the Peace Index. That is Jerry. Each week, you're going to be bringing us up to speed on the process of being better leaders.
100x leader. That's right.
And you are talking about the glitter. It's not real.
That's right. The glittering image is that image that you want everybody to think about you because you don't want them to know how jacked up you are. Well, folks, everybody's jacked up.
Everybody is.
I'm jacked up. Peace indexes are jacked up. We're jacked up all over the place. But look, that's how we connect. We connect through the struggle, and you can form relationships that will never fail.
All right, real quickly, we got about a minute. We got to show some love to your man with the Fire podcast that you're out there part of.
Oh, yeah. Got to give a shout out to Mark Thomas, pastor at Thrive Church, Richmond City campus, but incredible Evangelism on Fire podcast host. You can find that podcast anywhere you find podcasts, Evangelism on Fire, and find out how you can learn to evangelize.
That's right, because he's delivering the boom.
He's bringing the boom daily.
He's bringing the boom. Jerry Howard, how can people find you?
You can find me on Ephesians4u.com. And that's Ephesians like in the Bible, the number 4, the letter U.com.
It's always a pleasure. Folks, what you could take away from this, don't do the double layout.
Yeah, don't do the double layout. Not in a row. You can do one at a time.
Okay. The other one for me is if you got a bad Achilles tendon, don't try and run with the grandkids because they're going to be walking, dragging the leg behind you and hearing it from the missus about how ridiculous I was. All right. It is Intrepid Impact. My man Jerry is here with us. We'll talk to you next week.